high alert on the Israeli-Lebanese border after dozens of rockets were fired from Lebanon into Israel earlier today. Israel says many, but not all of them, were intercepted, and it has now closed down its northern airspace. This latest episode comes after Israeli forces stormed the Al-Aqsa mosques, one of Islam's holiest sites, for the second time late last night. Now, Israeli police say they entered the mosque after, quote, dozens of law-breaking juveniles threw fireworks and stones and barricaded themselves inside. All of this happening during a holy period for both Islamic and Jewish faiths. Elliot Gotkin is in Jerusalem for us. Elliot, bring us up to speed on where things stand on the ground right now, beginning with the latest round of rocket fire.
Abby, just this hour, we've received more reports from the IDF that there were 3 mortars fired from southern Lebanon towards the town of Metula in Israel's far north near the border. And this, as you say, followed a barrage of some 36 rockets fired towards Israel from southern Lebanon earlier today. That's the biggest barrage since a war between Israel and the Iranian-backed militants of Hezbollah in 2006. But it's very important to note that Israel, we spoke with the international spokesperson from the IDF, Richard Hecht, and he says that they believe that it was either Hamas or Palestinian Islamic Jihad that was responsible for firing towards Israel from southern Lebanon. In other words, it wasn't Hezbollah. And that's significant because if it was Hezbollah, and then Israel presumably will at some point retaliate, it says that it will decide on the place and time of its response. Right now, it hasn't responded, contrary to earlier reports. If it was Hezbollah and then Israel responded towards Hezbollah positions, then that could potentially see things escalating, perhaps towards the level that we saw the last time there was an all-out war between the two sides in 2006. The fact that it's from Palestinian factions should suggest that the response will be somewhat more measured. Abby?
All right, Elliot Gotkin, thank you very much for that report. And for more on this now, let's bring in Dennis Ross. He's a longtime peace negotiator under Republican and Democratic administrations, including serving as a former special Middle East coordinator under President Clinton and a special assistant under President Obama. He's now a counselor at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy. Dennis, thanks for joining us. First, to start, can you just give us your reaction to what we have seen transpire in Israel over the last 2 days?
Well, look, we always knew that the reality of having Ramadan on one hand and Passover on the other take place at the same time was bound to create a real potential for violence, especially triggered by those who would like to see violence. We know that those who barricaded themselves within the Al-Aqsa Mosque last night had the very real purpose of wanting to trigger something. We know what's happened now, that it was not Hezbollah that launched these rockets from Lebanon. It was Hamas. And as Hamas is launching from Lebanon, it's not launching from Gaza. There were a couple that were fired, but they're basically trying to shift the focus. It signals that they don't want a war over Gaza, but they also feel that Israel is constrained by what it can do in Lebanon because of Hezbollah. Hezbollah itself allows Hamas to operate and then claims it had nothing to do with this. So all of this suggests that we're at a point where there's a great potential for escalation if one side or the other miscalculates.
Yeah, I mean, I think to that point, how likely is it, given where we are right now, that this could spiral out of control? What would that even look like?
Israel undoubtedly will respond to the fact that there were 36 rockets fired out of southern Lebanon and at least 3 mortar shells fired into the city, the town of Metula in the north. So Israel will retaliate. They will probably try to retaliate in a way that hits only those areas where Hamas was operating. If they hit targets that Hezbollah considers to be theirs, Hezbollah may then decide that they will fire rockets into Israel. If the two of them begin an exchange, that can easily spiral out of control quickly. Hezbollah can hit Israel with 3,000 rockets a day for several weeks. Israel won't take that. They will end up going into Lebanon on the ground to try to stop that. So you can see how quickly this could escalate and get out of control. My guess is neither side wants it to get out of control, so it probably won't be something that escalates that way, but there's clearly a danger. As I said, calculations always seem great when you're in the abstract or in the laboratory. When real fire begins, a lot of things go out the window.
Yeah, it remains a very dangerous and volatile situation right now. Former Ambassador Dennis Ross, thank you very much for joining us.